everyone, Joshua Hanlon here at Philly Brickfest 2019, and I'm joined by Andrew Clark, the designer of both the Doctor Who and the Flintstones Lego Ideas set, and he's got a brand new Ideas project that he's going to show us today, so let's take a look. So now I'm here with Andrew with the new project on Ideas. So do you want to take us through what this new project is?
Definitely. Okay, so I'm a big fan of a lot of nostalgic things, and this one in particular is based on the original 1960s Thunderbirds. Lots of cool and iconic, large and detailed vehicles. So that's something I wanted to tackle for my next Lego Ideas project. So a quick run through of the design. So you've got the, as you can see, the image up here. It has the cockpit piece on with the cockpit windows, and here I'm showing it with that piece taken off to reveal the inside where the micro figures can be placed. With the cockpit details will be printed on here, I imagine, that I propose. It's got a pod that's detachable, and the smaller vehicles can fit inside, like the elevator car. They go inside, and it can go back in. And go about, and the legs can detach for when it's like flying. So I think it's a very cool kind of display and play item and cool features. And you got Thunderbird 4, which can go on underwater missions. So the different vehicles that go on the pods can serve different functions, different missions, and that's part of the show. Basically, the 1960s show is all practical effects for that time, no CG then. And for me, that's part of the charm of the show. And they hold up very well over time, being practical effects, very detailed. Like Star Wars had practical effects, the original movie, real models that were built. And this show always had lots of special effects and explosions and excitement, and I even proposed a minifig with a headpiece that was like sweating, like they were under pressure, because that's how they are in the show sometimes. They're on this mission, and it's like full of tension. Now it's not violent like action. It's very suited to Lego being kind of an action that's kind of exciting, but not really violent. So minifigs are very popular. I couldn't really do a minifig scale; it'd be too large, but I still wanted to include one because I knew the fans would want that. So a minifigure.
You can see on the screen there kind of what the ultimate thinking for the product is with the printing and everything.
Definitely. So the physical model shows that it works as a real physical build, and then the computer-generated renders show what it'd be like with all the graphics on, like the minifigs all correctly, what it would be like if it was printed. So if I could cycle through the images, I could show you some of the other images I have up there. So this is a close-up. I did the renders very large. As you can see, the micro figures here give a very good sense of scale of just how epic and large the vehicle is. So that definitely helps. And here they are again, but in this time on a 1x3 brick with the word FAB printed on. It's kind of a word used in the show that fans associate with the show. It doesn't really have a definite meaning. It's just like FAB, like fab, or so it's something that I think when you design a set, as many things as possible, have as many design elements as possible that link to the show and the fandom and the, that kind of thing. So these are the minifigs. Here you go. He's all sweating and stressed and it's like, under pressure.
He's taking the mission very seriously.
He's taking, lives are at stake. little puppet lives. So he's got to make sure that they all survive for the next show. This is it showing how the pod detaches and how the vehicle can slide inside. So like the play features, like you'd see on an official Lego set showing the functions. Instead of having it written in every language, the arrows are universal, that everyone understands what that means as a visual symbol.
So I noticed here, if you look at some of the coloring on this versus here, there's some of the colors are different. So would this image on the TV is kind of the ideal colors you'd like it in?
Definitely. So when I'm building it in the physical model, not all the parts exist in the right colors. but I still want to do it as a physical build to prove that it works, it's stable, and that it's proof of concept. But then the renders here show then an idealized view of if everything was in the correct colors. So it's probably about 6 or 7 color changes. But as time passes by, some may naturally come in the right colors, as they're released. So this image here shows the cockpit taken off and the seat on the render with the textured up micro figures. Sorry. So here you see they are vastly enlarged and how they could be inside the cockpit with the printing for the console. And a little face here like they're talking to someone, they're on a mission and they're reporting to someone. This is, in technical illustration terms, would be called an exploded view. How it's kind of, without showing each piece, how it's put together, like large chunks of the build, how they come apart and how it ultimately would come together to form the build. So you can look at this and gauge, you can reverse engineer it based on this, how it is built.
Showing the attachment points almost for a lot of the parts.
Yeah, and I thought it's a cool image to show, like it, come apart. Definitely. And of course...
that looks really cool there.
Thank you. You also want a bit of the action shot, right? So you want to see it in its natural environment. Having it against a white background is good for presentation, like the main image. But then you also want to have how it look in its natural environment, which in this case it's flying. So you have a bit of a fade off to blue as it goes further back to give it a bit of depth and to incorporate it in its environment. A bit of the subtle engine glow, and just trying to make it look like a more dynamic shot to a degree. Yes, definitely. Okay, well that's another project. But with this one, yeah, definitely.
I wanted to make sure I asked you. So I love the way you've presented all of these images on the screen. You've got the model here. So is some of this stuff kind of things you've learned from your previous 2 projects that have been successful on ideas? Kind of talk about what that process has been like in terms of what you can take away from those previous projects that you've added onto this.
I think it comes down to presentation skills, and as a background as an artist, it helps hone those skills. Presenting a project on Lego Ideas, you're constantly striving to get the best visuals, convey the information in the most succinct, digestible way that encapsulates the essence of what it is you're trying to represent. In this case, as many things that go to the nostalgia as possible. The cockpit's fairly simple in terms of not too many printed elements, but it effectively shows what it is, and definitely. I mean, the presentation in terms of the visuals for Photoshop, presentation in terms of photographs and renderings, because I do a bit of both, and I'm trying to get better. With this project, what is unique about this one is all the Lego parts, the digital ones, I hand-built myself in a 3D program, which took probably 4 months to do.
That's some intense work there.
Well, it's because all this geometry you get in LDD and these other programs, they're good, but if you render at very high resolutions, you can tell it's fake. The bevels are done in the render, which looks good, but for very high-res renders, you definitely want the correct smoothing and the gaps between the bricks and the subtle details that you see in official Lego images. I wanted to convey that. I wanted to make it look like, so when it goes to review, the closer it looks like an official product, the easier it is for people to imagine it being one. And maybe that helps it to a degree because it already looks like it could be. So that's what I aim to do. I still think I've got a bit of way to go to get better and hone my skills even more, but it's something I constantly strive to do, both as a personal goal in my job as a games artist and just in general as an artist, and just hone my skills as a builder, trying to make something that emulates the shape well but is also strong and stable, and try to look at the project from every point of view that an official Lego designer would, to my best of my knowledge, which I don't have as much as they do in terms of like all the rules and regulations and that kind of thing, but I want to think that I approach it in a in as good a way as I possibly can. So
I think for sure, and I think that level of work you put into it is why you have 2 successful projects so far. It's really amazing to see how much thought and work you put into these. So that's amazing. So this project is available right now. We'll have a link in the description below where you can support this on Lego Ideas. So definitely make sure to check that out. If you're a Thunderbirds fan or this looks like a set that you'd like to own, it's a really impressive model, and I'm glad you could show it to us here. Thank you.
Thank you. It's definitely a passion project. They all are, and thank you for giving me the time to talk through my model. I appreciate it.